Back in 1975, Ridley Scott let us know that in space, no one can hear you scream. We weren't in space this week, and oh boy, was I screaming. Welcome to our Star Trek Picard after show. As always, I am Christian Bladt. She is Nikki Bailey,
Hey, hey.
and a not so happy Go Jackie. our our pal Frank Moran, who is his designation is very meh. If we were to use the dots on our turtlenecks, like from the sort of mid era TNG and Voyager, you would have about 4 meh dots right now. I
That's
think.
right.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess I want to leave room for more mess. So
that's
I meant
true.
that third one.
It is just the black circle, and it hasn't
Yes.
been filled in yet. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we got somehow we have 4 more episodes. We got 7, 8, 9, and 10. But before we dive in to this episode, and when I talk on the various shows that I do, the various podcasts that I appear on, when I talk about how a streaming series that is supposed to be an hour and I feel like they shortchanged me, I'm usually pretty angry about it. When I saw that this episode was 38 minutes, I was like, yeah, seems about right. Thank you. I was like, thank you very much for that. Thank you. So it's an interesting tactic in the middle of a very meh season 2 to let us know that season 3 is going to be everything that we've wanted from Picard. Now it's just a teaser trailer, just with some vocal appearances, but very distinctive voices. And they make sure that we know, and they give us everyone in the original cast, except for Will Wheaton, and let us know that everybody's there. And I mean, and Will Wheaton's working for Paramount Plus. It's
I don't know
like
why they couldn't get him in the show.
they got his number. Maybe he will appear, but maybe there just wasn't room for him. But I gotta ask, Frank. We're usually starting from a place of disappointment. Seeing that teaser trailer, knowing that season 3 of Picard is going to basically be the gang's all here, everybody's coming back. What are your thoughts on that teaser trailer that was released earlier this week?
It's the first reaction is like I've been hurt before, because for you to tell me, which I didn't know, but that Q was going to be in 6 episodes. So me thinking, all right, this is going to be some substantial stuff, and then seeing how this has played out so far in terms of what we've gotten for Q and the drips and drabs. So right now, I have no reason to feel that this will be anything other than they'll be in there, but they're not really going to be in there that much, and I'll probably be disappointed by the lack of usage of them.
That is an interesting, but yet cautiously, well, not cautiously optimistic, cautiously pessimistic, because you don't want to be hurt again. What did you think, Nikki?
Well, I am ever the optimist. I saw it. I welled up with tears. I screamed a little bit. I got very excited, and I am trusting and believing that it is going to be an epic season with all of my favorite TNG people back to restore Picard, the name Picard, to the greatness it once had.
But is there a but coming? Because I feel like
There's no but. I'm really hopeful. I'm just going to get through this season, and then next season everybody will be back and we'll be happy. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
What about you, Christian?
Yeah, do you feel optimistic?
I mean, I want to be. You know what I was, Frank, and then you ruined it for me. No, in all honesty. I want to be excited for it, and I want to feel really, really good. I want to let myself be every bit as excited as I was when I first watched it. But the more that I think about it, of course, the sort of the worse, that just the expectations are diminished so much, but Terry Matalas, whom I refer to a lot, the showrunner of Picard for seasons 2 and 3, has given me. See, I was actually semi-distracted because I did a bad job at homework and I hadn't prepared this for before we started, but I got it now. So he says, for those who were asking, no, these aren't just cameos. This is a proper send-off to the TNG crew. It's been a labor of love for so long. I hope you like what we've cooked up. And yes, Federation starships galore. But I also feel like we've been burned before. What I also learned from him tweeting about this is that he actually had to split off from season 2 of Picard, turning the reins over to Akiva Goldsman so that he could focus on this. And so I'm going to tell myself that he's going to take the reins, and it'll be what I want. But Dominicus Saxon weighs in with they had to announce season 3 before everyone dove out the back window during season 2. It's a great visual, and it's not entirely impossible.
Well, I feel like the show does a great job of hitting your nostalgia buttons. They want you to get sucked in. And so, I mean, that teaser absolutely draws you in, and you get excited because you're like, holy cow, all right, all these characters I love. But it's just, I feel like the track record for this show has been to take ideas and characters that I've had genuine enthusiasm for and then diminish them over the course of this season and a half. And so I would love nothing more than season 3 to be phenomenal and an awesome send off to this cast and to Picard. I feel like before the series, I would have had a lot more confidence in that than I do now.
Yeah, if there was only going to be one season of Picard and it was this season 3 that they're gearing us up for, if there had been no seasons 1 and 2, I think we would probably be losing our minds. Although our friend Flobo would continue to be a buzzkill because anytime we have a shared thread that we talk about Picard and Star Trek stuff, he's the ultimate meh. Because he doesn't have the affinity for the TNG crew or really like any crew because he came in on Discovery. But Flobo is scheduled to appear with us next week, so we can spend a minute or two on this.
Hope he can fit us in.
Yeah, yeah. If he can fit us, well, he's in Alaska right now. He's at a comedy festival in Alaska. So,
wow.
Obviously he would rather be around a bunch of gruff fishermen who no doubt have a wonderful sense of humor. And if we have any viewers in Alaska, make sure you go see Flobo sometime this weekend, but you got to find him. So yeah, look, I want to be excited about it. I will continue to let myself be excited about it, regardless of how season 3 ends. It's just very curious because there's no drama about anything that will happen this season because we're looking past it. But if you're going to find room for the TNG cast, can I hope that we just shake the Etch-a-Sketch on the call sheet and we get rid of everybody except Jean-Luc? Is it okay? Is it okay, Nikki, for me to feel that way? That's
an appropriate feeling to have, I think.
No more Raffi, Girardi, even Seven. Bless you. We've had you for a couple seasons. It's okay. If they want to look, I still say if they want to do 7 of 9 Space Ranger or whatever it is she's out there doing, great. 7 versus the Borg Queen, whatever they want to do, I'll tune in. As this show has demonstrated, I will tune in.
Well, I could see them wiping everybody, and I wouldn't mind that. But I could feel like the only character I wouldn't mind having still would be 7. One, it's a character that I've got fondness for. But 2, I mean, I know Brent Spiner is going to be back for the season, but I doubt Data is going to be. So whatever kind of variation of a Soong or whatnot that they use to conjure up Data, I feel like that team needs what Data would bring to it, and I feel like 7 could be a serviceable stand-in for that sort of role.
Yeah, that was there were a couple of questions because and he didn't answer it, but a fan asked Terry Metalis where is Worf going to be at this point. He's definitely in it because his name was there, and he did confirm that he is playing Worf, but what he won't get into is what part of Worf's backstory they're going to use, because there's a little bit of a discrepancy from end of DS9 Worf and Nemesis Worf. So and that tells me that they haven't quite sorted it out yet. They're figuring out exactly what to do. But then the other part of that is, what are they going to do with Brent Spiner? Because we already said goodbye to Data in season 1. And I mean, lore. I mean, we talked about it when we did our season 1 show, which feels like a decade ago, but it was only a couple of years ago. What do you think about both of those, Nikki? About both Brent Spiner and Michael Dorn, their incorporation into season 3?
I feel like Brent Spiner is going to be hard. I feel like they've given us all of this sort of preliminary Sung stuff this season. I don't know. I can't imagine how they would have Data come back, which breaks my heart a little bit because I love him so much, and I was sad that we had to let go of him before. But if they can find a way to bring him back, I'd be okay with lore. I'd be okay with that kind of appearance. That could be interesting.
Yeah.
And then Michael Dorn and Worf. I'm hoping that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have feelings about about the Worf reemergence. I'm just looking forward to seeing everybody all back together again.
Yeah, if it's 7 episodes where they're basically at Riker and Troy's house just eating pizza for 7 hours, I'm gonna be fine with that. If it's like, hey, remember this, and it turns into like a clips show, I'll also be okay with it. Just so long as we get some new footage of them interacting, however they want to do it, I think it'll be all right.
I feel like it's a shame that, that who knows where in season 1 if they even had the kernel of the idea for season 3, or if it's been a response to the fan response to the series, or whatever might have happened behind the scenes. But I feel like a lot of season 1 could have been better served with the original cast. You could have used it for this 3rd season. I mean, saying goodbye to Data with the whole cast would have meant a lot more. Everybody gathering together to save Picard would have meant a lot more.
Yeah.
So I feel like you've kind of shot 2 big things. You can always have Picard be his final mission or whatever, but I feel like you've already introduced 2 of those concepts, and they've already kind of closed them up so far in the series. So I will be curious to see what the stakes are in this last series. And maybe it's not huge. Maybe it's just them having an adventure, and I'll be fine with that too.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I know our friend Craig Robinson, who is across the pond, he just wants Reg. And, I think if you can find room for even a brief cameo from characters like that, that'll just add to it. But getting substantial stories, I mean, honestly, if they were like, look, we're just getting Geordi, I'd be like, all right, at least you told us, because that's been sort of, I've been very interested in where he has been these last couple seasons. So we'll see. But they're making the waiting even harder, because not only do we have no premiere date for that, we still got 4 more episodes. And honestly, when we saw that trailer, we had 5 more episodes.
Yeah.
Fortunately, this one was 38 minutes. And when we before we even started, our friend Dominicus Saxon popped in to say, I want to go on the record by saying I did not like this episode, period, at all.
That's a brave stance to take.
It's a brave stance to take, but I'm hard pressed to think about what I liked about this episode. I think possibly when Jean-Luc is talking to Renee, but just when they're inside and, sort of the words that he's speaking to try to inspire her, I'm like, yeah, that's Jean-Luc. That's what he can do. And then it kind of went downhill from there. We'll talk about it big picture. Nikki, your thoughts on episode 6 of Picard season 2.
Yeah, I was ready because I liked I didn't love it, but I liked episode 5. So I was ready to come back this week and be wowed and be like, yes, they got me. I'm in this. I'm ready. This is wonderful. And then they pulled out the Pat Benatar and I couldn't. I was unable to can. It was just wrong, all kinds of wrong. And I did not care much for this episode either. And I hate saying that. I hate that I have to say that I didn't love the episode.
I kind of had this look on my face the whole time. This look that Jean-Luc has right here. Just sort of, I was not dressed as well as him. And I have worn a tuxedo on a number of occasions. I've never looked this good in a tuxedo. Jean-Luc, Sir Patrick Stewart, is an impeccable, fancy gentleman. I am neither impeccable nor fancy, nor a gentleman. So, in any case, what did you think, Frank? Sort of as we look at 2 of 1 is the title of this episode.
Yeah, boy. What a just a mediocre episode. It was. I still don't understand the whole thing with Q, and it's getting frustrating at this point because if this is supposedly a test, then I don't know why Q is so actively working to kind of thwart this for whatever reason. And it's fine if he has a reason, but then let us know what it is. But it seems that he set this up to Jean-Luc as here's a test, and here's for you to get absolution for your sins, but we don't have any sort of context as to why Q would not want him to succeed in that. So it just gets frustrating at this point.
Yeah, I mean, my expectation is that we'll better understand what Q's up to before the season's end. But on a lot of shows, I'd be certain, I'm not 100% sure that we'll really know what's going on with Q.
But I feel like when you drag it out this long, though, it only makes the audience expect a huge payoff for that. And I feel like this series always underserves those moments where it's like, oh yeah, here's the reason, and it's like, that's it. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just perpetually prepared to be underwhelmed, which when my wife agreed to marry me, I said, be prepared to be perpetually underwhelmed, and she still signed on. So, you always set the bar low and you won't be disappointed. But it's it's frustrating that we didn't advance that. And I love Brent Spiner predominantly as Data. Him as Adam's Song, the vehicular manslaughterer. It didn't work for me. Like not even like a tiny bit. The fact that it was almost like he has Q helping him, but he can't get Jean-Luc thrown out of a party, and he can't, so he's like, well, I guess I'm just going to hit Renee with a car. And I think that the best acted sequence was probably the young actress who plays, I guess her name is Corey now. She was Soji before, and then there was even another name that I legitimately can't remember. Just sort of like the actual montage of the clips of him, I thought was a little heavy-handed, but her reaction to it, I was just like, okay, they've made me care about her at least a little bit. The realization that your dad is a psycho, that is something that I feel could play out in an interesting way, and that is probably going to be his undoing. But that's like one little thread that I felt like worked. I don't know, Frank. Brett Spiner driving a car, trying to run somebody over and hitting Jean-Luc. I don't know.
It is just so underwhelming, again, because we have no idea what Q is trying to do, why he wants to succeed so well. We know what he's using to kind of hold, Soong under his thumb for this, but it's just ridiculous. And it seems so weird that he buys his way into this. He's got a seat on the board now, And so I thought, all right, he's going to use his influence to say, hey, let's eject this Picard lady out of the program. We only have 10 hours left. Let's make sure we don't put her in isolation and let's get her out. So I thought that was his right. It was like, all right, cool. He's going to keep Picard away, and he's going to, and then be able to talk to the board to get rid of her. But that never does. That never happens.
No, he just tries to throw Jean-Luc out of the party.
And then also, how did he get on the board after he was just disgraced as this medical professional?
Yeah, that was going to be my next question to you, Nikki, is if his shut-in robot daughter is able to, within the space of 30 seconds, find out what a terrible person he is. So is it that by 2024, Google doesn't work anymore unless you're a robot girl? Yeah, I mean, it's like, well, how much money did Q give him? I mean, I guess that's probably easy for Q, even whatever struggles he may or may not be going through. But yeah, it was not a great episode, but that part was so implausible that it kind of distracted from anything else that might have even worked. Is the fact that I almost called him Data. I'm sorry, Data. I shouldn't have done that. The fact that Adam's song was there, which I believe that's a Blink-182 song, Adam's song. So you know, really, we should just call him Blink. But the idea that I understand why he was so frustrated when he got home, because man, he messed everything up, didn't he, Frank?
Very true. But it's also, I guess there's no security. I mean, for as much as they really kind of said how these astronauts are being protected, and security was so tight for this, it would seem to be very easy for him to get home with seemingly zero consequences involved with this. So
yeah, but you know, there in the song part of the storyline, there was, of course, a word that we referenced last week. We did see close up on a headline. We did see the word eugenics, and it was something that we were wondering if we were going to get last week, and that does tie into the timeline of the late 20th / early 21st century in Star Trek lore, you know, in terms of dealing with Khan. I don't know if they're going to make the connection, but yeah. Oddly enough, though, as Nikki, as you referenced, Adam was not the worst song in the episode, was it?
It was not. I thought that they were just infusing a little bit of modern music into the soundtrack. And then when my girl came out on the balcony and suddenly there were lights again because she got a spotlight. No, just no. So the board queen knows Pat Benatar?
Well, that makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, I guess she used her Wi-Fi for that, but why did she settle on Pat Benatar for a song for that old? It's like, this will be the appropriate song to sing right now in 2024 at this event.
So like, let's take a song that at that moment is 40 years old, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Which
but
meant it was
Nikki,
cheap. It was funny that they didn't want to spend money on a song, but they must be saving all of the really great effects for the last episode because we've had a car chase around the corner now, and 21st century technology and a Pat Benatar song. I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, I know. What was it? You didn't want to break the budget on Joan Jett. Is that what it really came down to? Does Girardi hate herself for loving you? I mean, but and Nikki, you did a little independent research on the music video for that Pat Benatar song, so I think it's very relevant.
I happened to look for the music video because that's a classic, good old song that I wanted to hear all the way through.
Sure.
And in the music video, Pat Benatar is actually playing a pilot, an airplane pilot that's going on a mission. So maybe that's why they chose that song, because the story of the video kind of goes with the story of Renee.
Which when you mentioned that, I was like, what a missed opportunity for the Captain Marvel movie, because like, why was that song not in there? She was literally a female pilot in the 90s. So it was at least closer to then.
And for me, that just seems like a writer's room thing where somebody older was like, oh, you remember that Pat Benatar video where she's a pilot? wouldn't that be cool to kind of just pay homage to that in this show?
And when Frank says somebody older, he means someone our age.
Right.
And I mean me and Frank. I'm not lumping you together with us, Nikki.
No, I'm lumped in with you guys.
So. No. I would never do that. That's not for me. You know, I'm just we're the lumps on the show. But yeah, and it's like that must have been fun for Allison Pill's her name, right? That must have been fun for her. But you know what? We don't need her to have fun on this show. And, you know, Dominica Saxon has given her a new name. I just want to know who gave Murder Blonde Borg a microphone. And, yeah, the murder doctor, you know, with the Borg queen living in her head. Boy, it was probably already, there were probably already so many voices in there. It was a little bit crowded. And for anyone who is also right now watching Moon Knight on Disney Plus, there is also a Oscar Isaac has an Oscar Isaac that also lives in his head, which, you know, if I'm going to have somebody live in my head, Oscar Isaac, I would take him over the Borg queen. Absolutely. But that's just me. And it was just like, I'm like, oh, this is exhausting watching shows where people have someone else living in their head. You know, can we do something about this and not have this again? Can we not get this in season 3? And look, it's intriguing to see, you know, she's like walking off throughout Los Angeles by herself, but man, what a missed opportunity where she could have been doing some really cool, badass Borg shit. She could have been assimilating like an entire bachelorette party in a party bus or something. You know, there could have been something really cool happening. Instead, she's just walking. Yeah. In an episode filled with disappointment, you know, I don't know who I'm more let down by Girardi or Dr. Song. You know what? This episode, I think if I were given this a letter grade, I would try to give it an F-, you know, because if I could.
Yeah, and you can. It's your show, Christian.
Great point.
For me, I don't like. I look at this and I think of also Star Trek V, one of my least favorite film in the series. But I feel for all, whether it's, you know, singing "Row, Row, Row Your Boat" or Uhura up there with her doing her little dance and all that stuff. As much as those things don't land for me, there's also something about it, at least being characters that I have a fondness for. So I'm disappointed that that's what they're doing with them, but at least I'm still carried by the fondness of these characters. It helps me get over that. You do this in this episode with characters I don't care about. It makes it just more disappointing, for sure.
You know, it's a great point. If for some reason Deanna Troi had a show-stopping song, I wouldn't have hated it as much. It really comes from a place of how much I don't like Gerard. I'm not saying that song would work, you know, but I mean, if
something from Cabaret would totally do her justice. Yeah.
I wonder if it's too late to ask if we could sneak that into season 3. But yeah, I think that, you know what, that's you're 100% right. It's a character that I already don't love. And I wanted to give some leeway to when the season started because we were starting fresh. And I like her less than I did last year. You know, Raffi had a couple of flashes early on in this season where I was starting to think I didn't dislike her as much. But, you know, this episode being the obstacle of like, no, we can't try to save Jean-Luc. Like, Raffi, we have to. This is the only way that we can get this to work. We need Jean-Luc back. Why does this Watcher look like Laris? Like, they got to give us a reason for that. They can't just, you know, that if that's part of Q's test, you know, something, you know, they don't have to tell us now in episode 6. But if this season ends and in our finale wrap up, if they haven't given me a good reason, well, I'm not going to really do anything because I'll be right back here for season 3. But I'll be very salty. I will probably use a lot of colorful metaphors, a lot of double dumbass on you in the course of that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I wanted to ask each of you if what you thought before we move on to that. Sorry, I'm getting exasperated as I think more about this episode. Is what did we think of the interaction between the Picards? Let me ask you that first, Nikki.
Oh, I'm with you. I felt like it was, we got to see Jean-Luc do what Jean-Luc does. He's the inspirer. I don't motivation kind of, like he was able to inspire her to do what he needed her to do. It was a lovely conversation. It was a ridiculous conversation in that I would never have a long ass conversation with the security guard who happened to show up while I was crying. But it was a nice conversation.
Yeah, and I think that there probably was something about this person, the way he carried himself, the way that he talked. It probably did seem familiar to some relative of hers. There might have been some common thread there. What did you think, Frank, watching the two Picards?
Yeah, there's something about that line though that I just kind of like. I feel like I've heard it so many times in time travel or alternate reality episodes or movies. It's like, you seem so familiar, that they're saying to either.
Frozen Frank.
Am I back?
You're back now.
You're back.
You're back now.
Oh,
Yeah,
goodness.
But yeah,
Well,
anytime you have like alternate reality time travel stuff, it's like you seem really familiar.
yeah. Well, got it. We got it, guys. Cool. All right, whatever.
Yeah.
If you would have told me though, get excited. There's Q in this season. Yes, I'm super excited. Guess what? We're gonna have an episode where somebody texts with Q. How excited are you about that? Zero. Less than zero.
I mean, we gave out his phone number last week. We could have at least heard that message again.
Like we're just having he's texting. This is what Q's doing now. He's texting somebody. Fantastic. That's
he used
great.
to be able to show up like that.
Well, when the finger snap doesn't work anymore, you gotta downshift. So
Great.
Yeah.
What can we do with Q that would be like more interesting or different than we've seen before? Texting. Yes. Let's get him texting.
Are you sure you don't want him to post Instagram stories? No. Just texting. That's fine. We would see him if he did Insta stories. Dominica Sachs. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we spend a lot of time on our devices, as not Laris told Jean-Luc, so
true.
For context, there it is.
So there it is. Even Q is addicted to what iPhone are they up to by 2024?
I mean,
that one's going to be great. They should do the iPhone Q.
I want to feel more for that scene. I mean, there's part of it, like Nikki was talking about, that you've got Jean-Luc doing his thing, which is great. So that helps gets me through the scene. But there's also part of me that wants to feel more to this, especially if this is such an important event that they're trying to save. And I still feel like Reggie, whatever her name is, Picard, she's still kind of just to me. Kind of, there's not much to do other than just that story. Yeah. So I feel like if you wanted me to care more about this, I wanted develop her more as a character. There's been plenty of wasted time on the season so far that you could have developed that character more, so that these things would have landed more for me in this episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Dominica Saxon, who is the Idaho version of Craig Robinson, says it didn't make any sense why Raffi was content to just hang out in 2024 for weeks or months waiting for Picard to wake up. That is a great point, Dominica Saxon. But the one thing I'll say, when you're dealing with time travel, it actually doesn't matter. Like they could stay in 2024 until 2026. As long as they ultimately accomplish their goal, then they just slingshot back around the sun. But they have to make sure that the series of events doesn't begin. And that's really what it is that you need to actually make sure that this stuff doesn't happen, because we haven't seen the last, unfortunately, we haven't seen the last of Adam's song. So yeah, I think, I don't know. It's just none of the beats in this episode really hit the mark. The party wasn't as fun as it could have been, and that song. I mean, it was just like I wish the show aired live in like a way where we were all watching it, because I really wanted to message both of you, but I'm like, I have no idea when they're going to see this.
Oh,
So that
you
the shared experience is lost. If it was
true.
like, if this was like, when TNG was on, it's like, well, it's on Saturday at 7. So then at like 7:30, I would have been like, what is this?
Yeah.
So,
Well, the message that you did send, which was, "Ho, boy."
yep.
Uh,
Yep.
I
I
was
just left
like
it at that.
not sure how to take that. Was it more of like a loony "oh boy" or more of like a "oh boy"? Like it made me literally get up and go watch the episode once I saw your message.
Yeah, it was I was channeling my my inner Scott Bakula, but as Sam Beckett, not as Captain Archer. The end of the teaser, the end of the teaser / the end of every episode, it was always the same scene in Quantum Leap. It would always end with a "oh boy," and this was just a big old "oh boy." There was like, where do we begin? And like, I think we've done a pretty thorough job talking about this episode and
We
what
didn't
didn't
talk
work. But
about
I was going to say, but there's still more. What were you going to say?
I was going to say we didn't talk about the flashbacks.
Yeah, which have been just fell flat for me every time we've seen them. And now we're going to go inside of those flashbacks. That's what fake Laris is going to do. I think that, before we talk about that, I guess the one thing I did like was that Rios was able to call, I believe her name is Teresa, and she was willing to help him out. This guy who, it's like, there's so much fishy about this guy, but I kind of have a feeling that he's a good guy. And when he says we're the good guys, and she says good guys would never say that, I'm like, yes, they would. Like, what good guys wouldn't say we're the good guys?
True.
I was just like, what good guys has she run into? And maybe this is an alternate reality 2024 thing, but but I see the way he looks at her. And was that Raffi or Seven? It was Raffi, right?
Yeah.
Who
Ugh.
was just like, don't you get those ideas in your head?
That was so frustrating to me. It's like, yeah, I doubt he's going to be staying in the past, everybody, while we're doing all this. But it's fine for somebody to have just an infatuation for a moment. We don't need to be. It's not going to ruin the mission. Just let the guy have a moment. But it's like, no, what are you doing? This is ruining everything.
Yeah.
I will say Rios, though. I think of everybody that's new to the series, I think Rios is my favorite of all the cast. I kind of like where he's gone so far in this season and a half, and just him hanging out at the party, sharing his love for the 21st century, what he liked about it. I dig little moments like that. That was just a nice little.
I have no affinity for cigars, but I liked how excited he was about a real cigar. I liked, just the box of matches. I agree. I think that he plays that very well. Yeah, boy, that's a tough one to think about. I think you're right that I like Rios the most of all the new characters, but I mean, that is
it's true. It's not a lot of competition. It's a pretty easy party.
Yeah, right. It's like I really like this one only character that doesn't make me want to shoot myself.
Yeah, to borrow a line from my old boss, Dennis Miller, being the best new character on Picard is like being the valedictorian at summer school. Like, somebody has to, it's like somebody has to be the least terrible new character. But I do find him interesting, and I think the evolution of that character has been the most interesting. If you think about when we first met him back in season 1, Raffi and Girardi are pretty much the same. And but I don't know. I got hopes. I got hopes that it ends well, and I still like people when this thing is over. All right, let's talk. Go ahead.
Well, I said my last thing for that is, like, that's why I guess the frustration for me on the show sometimes is because of course we want to see the characters we know and love hanging out with Picard, but in the absence of that, then if you don't want that for whatever reason, rather have new characters on Picard, then just really give us characters that we can get hooked into really quickly and have a fondness for. And so I think they accomplished that with Rios, but everybody else has just fallen short, and it's so disappointing that their success rate is so low in getting me invested in this cast.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like they even messed up having Guinan on this show. I'm talking about the young Guinan was interesting, but even having Whoopi on, it was just like it didn't feel the way I wanted it to.
Because it just went in circles. It went in
Yeah.
circles and did nothing. That was so frustrating.
Well, Nikki, as we sort of look ahead towards episode 7, that I mean, are we going to spend that whole episode in flashbacks? Because I wrap that up in the first like 10, 15 minutes. And then, man, if Murder Blonde Borg Queen goes on a Borg spree throughout Los Angeles, like that could be really entertaining. I don't know. What are your expectations for sort of fake Laris basically going into Picard's subconsciousness and seeing those flashbacks again?
I don't have expectations. I'm just gonna hold on tight and take the ride. I was curious about the flashbacks. There was a creature in the flashbacks that looked like alien in some way, and that made me interested. So I'm curious, but I also don't be like Fred, like Frank said. I'm rewatching I Love Lucy. I got Fred Mertz on the brain.
That's a huge compliment.
That is
to be considered a Fred Mertz.
But like Frank said, we've been burned, so I don't have really high expectations of the next episode. I'm gonna just hold on tight and trust in the Lord.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the unofficial the song that they wouldn't have been able to afford for this episode really is Elton John's Tiny Dancer. Just hold me close now, Tiny Dancer. Just don't let go. Let's ride this out. And this show is again going to overlap with Strange New Worlds. So however it ends, I know that I can have a chaser with Captain Pike immediately afterwards. For better or for worse, I can at least turn the page onto the next thing. And I don't feel like they have it in them to finish strong. I don't like what they're setting up in this episode. I haven't liked where the story has been going. Each week, there's less potential. I think when they first went back in time, I was like, okay, I don't need it, but let's see what they do. And they haven't done enough. I know I said it last week. All the stuff that's set back in 2024, like Nikki was alluding to, it seems like they're saving the budget for some big stuff later in the season. And it is not a compliment. Like I said last week, and I'm saying again right now, when you have a Galactica 1980 feel, you are not doing science fiction correctly. That is not something that you want to aspire to. And it's, the Star Trek on first CBS All Access, now Paramount Plus, it never felt cheap. Season 1 of Picard didn't feel cheap. This feels cheap. And sometimes some of that includes the writing. What do you think, Frank? Sort of what we've set up for next week is what the Borg Queen might get up to, what fake Laris is going to do. And I wish I could remember that character's name. I honestly don't care enough to look it up. That's really
Talon?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. Hooray. Great. That's great.
Yeah, good for you.
Look at me. It's disappointing because I know we've talked about this before, but this whole whatever Picard's hidden memory is, or memory that he's just refusing really to deal with, is like answering posing a question that we never wanted asked or even cared about this character. So it's frustrating that they've drug it out this long without knowing what the deal is. I mean, and I'm all for if somebody comes on and they have like a take on a character and they kind of trying to show you a new aspect of that character or something about them. That's fine. I want to leave room for that, but I feel like you gotta get to it. You gotta show me why you care about it, especially if you're gonna make me watch these flashbacks in his head for 6 episodes so far, with no forward momentum on it at all. Again, that's one of those things where you're setting up this huge payoff, and I feel like the show's not really gonna make. You're gonna go through all this and you're like, that was it, okay? Or go ahead, Nikki.
No, I was just gonna say they're really trusting and leaning on the fact that because we're fans, we're gonna watch no matter what, and that leads to lazy, and we end up with these lazy episodes.
Yeah, because I mean, I feel like it's the writer's choice to have Picard, because Picard has had relationships
Yeah.
in the show, but I feel like, for him, for the idea to be like, well, why are you still alone, Picard? Like, that's not necessarily, that's a writer's choice. The writers decided like, hey, yeah, we're just not gonna have Picard involved, or for whatever reason, and then trying to justify like, oh yeah, so why don't we answer why is he always alone?
Yeah, he was like about to tell real Laris, but then he stopped himself, and that was episode 1. So we should have known that that there wasn't going to be a good payoff for that. And yeah, I need them to go ahead and wrap up the time travel part, though. We're going to be in episode 7 next week. But I think we're still in 2024 for a couple more weeks. Unfortunately, I think that they don't go back to the future, as they say, until episode 10, unfortunately. And
That's bonkers. That's bonkers.
I know, but I don't. I think that they're gonna think that they stop it from happening, but then they'll have some proof of like this one other thing that they need to do. And I mean, they, like I said, though, they can clean house with all these new characters at the end of the season. If anyone dies heroically, it will definitely help my estimation of them as a character. If they do something to help save, especially if they save Jean-Luc directly, if they sacrifice their own life for Jean-Luc, I'll be like, you know what, Raffi, still didn't like you, but good for you, So
Do you guys ever feel? I feel guilty that I don't love.
Yeah.
That I don't love this show. I feel like the Star Trek of my heart and soul is somehow disappointing someone because I'm not in love with the show, and I feel bad. I want to love it, but I just
Yeah, it's not so much that I'm disappointing like 13, 14-year-old me who got to watch Next Generation. I'm like disappointing, like, I don't know, 38-year-old me that thought I was never going to get any new stories of Jean-Luc Picard, but now I've gotten them. But if this is how I felt watching like a new crew, like if this is how I felt watching Discovery, it would be different. But because this is Picard, I think you're absolutely right. It is this feeling of, why can't I like this more? Why can't it be better? It's not my fault. I don't think it's our fault that we don't like it. I don't know anybody who loves this show, and I don't, whereas like when there's something that has mixed reviews, like the recent Boba Fett show for Star Wars, you found people who did love it. I haven't found the people who love Picard. And maybe I'll dig around for some on Twitter and just ask them why, or like how, because it's just like, I would love to be able to really love this show. And, when this season started, I felt pretty confident in saying like, well, it really feels better than season 1. I can't say that anymore. When it's all said and done, I can compare the two, but I don't know. Did we have this same feeling, Frank? You live in misery. You understand. You know the pain and suffering.
Yes.
Did we feel the same way in season 1?
We did.
Okay.
Because it was just taking too long to get anything going.
Yeah.
In that show. I mean, it was definitely a season that could have been done in 6 episodes instead of being padded out to 10.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. I feel like, and that's the same case with this one. Nikki, for what you're saying, because I feel like I can completely understand that, because there's that love that you have for the Next Generation TV show that just is a baseline, and then that feeling you get when you catch an episode that really resonates with you, whether it's like Inner Light or Best of Both Worlds, or the Picard being held by the Cardassians and going through the torture. There's just those kind of special episodes, whatever that might be to you, that really just like takes a show that you already enjoy and then just shows you like, oh yes, what a great showcase, and what a reason that I know why I love the show. And I've had that same thing with novels that I've read too as well. So I'm always chasing that feeling, And so to be watching this season and a half so far, Picard, and continuously not getting that feeling, and not even the baseline feeling of just enjoying it, is disappointing. And I feel it's like, man, I want to love this, and I just can't get there.
Yeah, the moment in season 1 when Riker shows up in uniform to help him out, it's like, oh, that was as good as it was going to get, wasn't it? It's like, hopefully season 3 gives us more feelings like that, where we were excited that Will Riker, suited up to help out Jean-Luc. By the way, here's a positive season 2. The JL count, Raffi calling him JL, it's at a firm 0. I think she might have done it in the first episode, but she's been through too much. She's still too mad at him. She never calls him JL. So if I can look for something positive, that's it right there. But I think that might be it. It'll be interesting to see what Flobo thinks when we talk to him next week. Obviously, because I love talking to Flobo, but he has a different perspective, and he doesn't love the concept of this show. He doesn't cover this show on the Star Trek show he does. They're like doing a recap on some of the short treks rather than watch Picard, which, honestly, I should probably go back and watch some of those short treks because it'll make me love the franchise more than this show does right now. But it's tough. And anybody watching this in the archive, leave your comments below. I'll be interested in, it does feel bad when you should love something and you just know that you don't, and at this point, Picard feels like we're just staying together for the kids. We're not in love with this show, but we know we have to, so
it's like the end of season 3 is they're going off to college for me.
Right.
Yeah,
like,
finally.
We call it quits now. All right.
Yeah. Finally, we could all move into a 1-bedroom apartment downtown, each of us getting our, it's like, finally, we can just, well, everybody who is watching the archive, please let us know what you're thinking. And, I want to be more positive. I hope that they really turn the corner, that this was the low point. I don't think that that's the case. I think we have yet to hit rock bottom, and I'll be here for it.
Yeah,
and
if you
I'll drag the two of you in it. I'm going to drag Flobo into it.
Yeah.
We'll drag some other friends into it in the weeks ahead. But
I thought we were there last week, and then this week it surprised us with the singing and the texting. And so there's always sadly, new levels that we can discover as we
the singing serves absolutely no purpose in the advancement of the story. The texting is just like, all right, Q's not there at the party. It moved the story. It's annoying, but to take the time in a 38-minute episode to have her sing a 3-minute song is just like, first of all, thank you for not giving me something else to be mad about in the 38-minute episode. But at the same time, it's just like, it served nothing. Yeah. So, yeah. But let's just hope we're going to have big smiles when the show starts next week, which we will be back on Friday next week with Flobo. It's tax day, the 15th, yes. And we'll be there at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Any final thoughts, Nikki, or just ready to stop thinking about this and begrudgingly going to have to go ahead and hit play on that next episode, either next Thursday or Friday?
I'm ready to let it go. I'm going to have a nice palate cleanse and watch RuPaul's Drag Race.
Nice.
And have some Thai food, and then I'll be ready to watch whatever nonsense they show us next week.
Yeah, RuPaul would be a great reset. That seems like a great way to go. What about you, Frank? What would be your hard reset? What would be your Control-Alt-Delete on this?
I have an episode of Young Justice to watch downstairs. I'll go watch on HBO Max. That'll do me.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be whatever my kids are watching upstairs when I get there. And honestly, whatever it is, Puppy Dog Pals, it'll probably be better, So Spidey and his amazing friends will definitely be better because at least I'll get to hang out with Spidey. In any case, that is mercifully all the time we have The episode was 38 minutes. We've talked for 54. A big part of that was the season 3 trailer. And I really think that's why it's here, because they knew how we were going to be feeling at this point in the season. And we're going to keep watching. They know they got us. But that is all the time we have for this week. If people want to keep in touch with you, Frank, and your very meh outlook, how do they do that?
Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at HappyGoJackie.
And Nikki, where do people find you?
You can find me at NikkiBaileyComedy.com or on all the social medias at NikkiBailey_.
And you can find me at Christian DMZ. You can also subscribe to the Blackcast YouTube channel, BLADTCAST. And last week we did the first episode of the Geekscape book club over on the Geekscape network, where we reviewed Batman Year One. And we'll be doing a Doctor Strange collection about a month from now. So you can sometimes find me over there. But at Christian DMZ, I shamelessly send out links to everything that I do. But until next Friday, do your best to live long and prosper, especially if Brent Spiner is gunning for you in a car. Living long and prospering might be difficult, but try.